Here's my story. Don't walk in my shoes. Hi, I'm Billy. I'm here to talk to you about drinking and driving or getting into a car with someone who's been drinking. Because of one bad decision, I changed my life forever. And here's the story on how that happened. Let me start off by telling you that how I was before this happened to me. I was an everyday 17-year-old kind of kid. I enjoyed playing sports and hanging out with my friends. I had a very well planned out future for me, starting off by going to college to major in criminology and minor in psychology. I got accepted to Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I made pretty good grades to get into that school. But unfortunately, that never happened or any of my plans. And here's the story on how that happened. February 26th of 2006 was the night that changed my life forever. I happened to attend a funeral for my stepmother's family that day, and I swallowed my tongue ring while I was eating a sandwich. When I got back home from the funeral, I was talking to my stepdad about it, and I happened to tell him that I actually did swallow my tongue because I didn't tell no one else. So I told him, and I'll tell you why I mentioned this because it's a very important part. Plays a very important part later on in the story. But after I talked to him a little bit about my day at the funeral, I started talking to my boys, and we were just thinking of getting to a party up at IUP, to a party at Pitt, because everyone was getting there and it sounded fun. But in the end, it turns out we decided not to get there, and we went up to IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. We ended up partying up there that night. And that turned out to be the last major decision I will make for the next 3 months. While we were out there drinking and playing beer pong, I realized I had to go to work in the morning. So we left at 2 o'clock in the morning after we waited about 2 hours to sober up a little. And as soon as I got into the car of a 95 Monte Carlo, I fell straight asleep and I was in help for the rest of the night. From what I hear, the car accident took place on 22 in Marysville by the U-Haul and Infinity car dealership. What happened was, we went off-road, hit the U-Haul wire, which flipped the car over, and it slid into the traffic signal light pole. And there's a lot more I could tell you about this, but I'd rather switch it over and give it to two people who were there for me when I was unresponsive at the moment, that will tell you their side of the story and give you more details about what happened to me. And that would be my mother, Tina, and my stepdad, Mike.
I guess we'll start from the beginning, from the night that, actually the night before it happened. I remember, us being in bed, and
You explain them what we're doing?
yeah, and what happened was he came home, and remember you told me to see what he was doing, and I stuck my head out the window and I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he said, "We're just going to get something to eat, and we'll be back." And for us, normally, for Billy, that's something he normally would do. I mean, don't you think he would just usually come back if he said he was going to come back? If he was going out to party, he probably would have said, "I'm going out to party." But
Yeah, because he got a job on Fridays.
yeah.
And I said, Billy, you're working a double shift tomorrow. I got him a job. He just started being a server. He goes, I know, Mom. I'll be home early. I'm just going out.
Right.
He said he'll come home early.
Right. So we went to bed. I mean, we pretty much just went to bed feeling comfortable that he would come home just, and soon and go to bed. And I guess we just felt good with that. But then about 4 o'clock in the morning.
It could have been around 5, yeah.
I think it was like 4:30, something like that. We got a call. And I think I answered the phone.
Yeah, and what did they say to you?
And they said, is a parent for William Limegrover there, Jr.? And I said, yeah. And I handed Tina the phone, and as soon as I handed you the phone, you got hysterical.
No, the lady was on the phone, and she says, are you the parent for Billy Limegrover, William Limegrover? And I said, yeah, I'm his mom. She said, well, you need to come down to Presby right away. She said, your son was in a really bad car accident. I said, okay. I said, can you tell me if he's alive, dead? Can you tell me? She's like, no, you just need to come down right away. I said, okay. Then I got off the phone, and then I told you what happened.
We went, we hurried up and got in the car, and it was a weird morning. I mean, it was a snowy, like there was snow blowing around, and it was just really weird, and it was almost surreal on the way down because you know, I know you were screaming. You know, I'm afraid he's dead. Remember?
I was upset.
You
Well,
could-
first we had to wake up our daughter,
Right.
who was in bed,
Right.
and we took her to your sister's.
We dropped her off on the way.
Then we went down to Presby.
Yeah, and the whole way down, you were crying and screaming.
Yeah, I was upset.
I was trying to calm you
Thought
down.
he was dead.
Yeah. It was horrible. It was
They
probably the
didn't
worst
tell me.
phone call anybody could ever experience.
It's the worst phone call
And the
any
worst-
mother could get. Yes.
The worst situation going down there was for me, her being like saying he was dead and me trying to calm her down, but worrying myself in the back of my mind what we were going to see when we got there was very difficult. But
So we get there.
we pulled up to the door, you know, and we parked the car and we ran into the emergency room.
Well, as we were walking in, we seen Billy's dad and his stepmom.
Yeah, well, they were there, yeah.
And we seen them walking in with
But
Yeah.
we'll concentrate on what happened, you know, with the story is that when we pulled up, we seen a lady and a guy in there crying. The lady was crying hysterically, especially when she seen us.
Right. She
And,
must have knew I was Billy's mom.
Well, yeah, but we didn't know that at the time. We walked
Right.
in and I said to you, I said, "Oh, that lady, something really bad happened with that lady, you know, because she was
Right.
crying hysterically." And we come to find out later that was the mother of the driver of the car. And when she seen us, I guess, knowing more about the circumstance, she was, you know, crying because of our situation.
Yeah, because Billy was going to die.
Well, we
He was
weren't.
in bad condition.
He was in bad shape.
Yeah.
And when we walked into the room where Billy was at, he was laying on a bed.
Well, first the doctors told us that they didn't know if he was going to make it for the first 72 hours. He was in bad
he was
shape.
in really bad shape, and they
Right.
said we'll bring you in to see him.
Right. And they said
And,
be prepared.
Right, be prepared, because it was a gruesome sight to see. He was laying on a bed, and he had two metal pipes sticking out of his head, and he had actually looked like an arm on top of his head. Remember how swollen his head was?
Frankenstein or something.
His head was so swollen that it actually looked like he had an arm glued on top of his head. That's how big it was swollen. I can remember. It was a horrifying thing to see. It was just terrible. And I mean, everybody there was like, it was almost not real for me. I mean, I don't know how you felt, but it almost felt not real.
I was in shock.
Yeah, I mean, it was shock. And then the day went on, you know, and I mean, I guess pretty much.
Well, he was in the emergency room.
Yeah.
And then they moved him to ICU.
ICU.
Yeah, and they took him into another.
Right, and we kind of just settled in for a long haul. I mean, it was starting there from that day. We have three other kids, or four actually. We had a little girl, and then we had three that were school age kids. And our youngest daughter was in preschool. And basically, for the duration that we did this, we basically left. I mean,
Well, I was never home.
Right, and I barely was
stayed at
ever home.
Presby
I might have
for
came
3
home one or
weeks.
2 nights and got a shower out of the time we were there, and we stayed in we slept in a waiting room
In the hospital.
in the hospital. I mean, we snuck down to get showers, and you know, in the waiting rooms that we knew were, you know, we could get a shower at. We went down and got showers at night, and we
Well, you at
slept
least
on
went over
chairs.
the day and stuff. I didn't. I felt bad because Alyssa was only, 4 years old.
3. She was
And I was
3.
going, I never left the hospital. I never
No,
left.
no.
Because I didn't know if he was going to die or not. So we always stayed close by just
Yeah.
in case.
It was very horrible. And then the days after that, Billy, the way that it was, he was moving like his body would move, but it wasn't responsive moving. It was just kind of like natural reaction moving. You know, he laid in a bed and he would sweat. Remember, he sweat real bad, and then he'd like be shaking, and they said his temperature was messed up. And then one day, you know, well, one of the things that happened was when we first got there that day, or a little bit later on in the day, they were telling us they were going to take him in for an MRI. And they said they had to make sure he had no metal parts, you know, metal jewelry or anything like that. And at first I didn't remember, but shortly when that lady was walking out, I said, "Oh, wait a minute. He did mention that he swallowed his tongue ring
Yeah, that was
the day before." And it was like a big red flag. They couldn't put him in, you know, a magnetic MRI with that in his stomach. So they did an X-ray and they seen it. It was in there. And you know,
it caused him to have, what's that, internal bleeding.
well, that was after the operation.
That was
Remember?
after.
Yeah, they went in. Remember to get it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they wanted
They
to
did
get
what's that called? A laparoscope or something.
Yeah. What happened was they couldn't get a good look at him to see what kind of brain his injury was in his brain
Right.
with that in there, because he you know, they couldn't put him in the
Small.
MRI. They could only get an X-ray, and that wasn't giving them a good enough information. So they did go ahead and they did an operation on him, and they removed it from his. It was like a colonoscopy almost or something. They went in and they removed it from him, and then they did get him into an MRI. I'd say it was at least a week into it before they got him into an MRI. After that, they did all that.
Wasn't he bleeding internally?
Well, that was after.
His blood pressure went high.
Right, that was after that.
Right.
First, after they did the MRI, they called us into a room, me and you and Tracy and Bill, and that was probably one of the hardest things to hear at that point, because the head neurologist at Presby said, he basically said they don't believe that he had about a 5% chance of ever waking up and being around, and
it was horrible.
That was probably the hardest thing I ever heard.
Right?
Yeah.
My dad went out crying.
It was just.
My dad was always there, never left the side.
Yeah, he was always there. Pops was always there, and I mean, it was probably the hardest thing I've ever heard as a step parent. I mean, just to hear, that he was in that situation, and it was rough. And then, we more time went on, and we were waiting in the room one day, and this was a couple days after this. And all of a sudden, me and Pops were in there waiting, and his blood pressure started to drop like dramatically, and
there was something wrong.
There was something wrong. I mean, we knew something was wrong. We called them in, and they brought in a portable X-ray machine, and they X-rayed his chest. And right away, as soon as they got the results of the X-ray, you could see it in their face.
Bleeding internally.
Yeah, it was like it was like a mad rush to the operating room, and we got him to the operating room, and we were all waiting outside because nobody knew what it was, what caused it, And they said he was filled with blood. I mean, it was just, they had to do exploratory surgery. They just cut him open, and they had to find out what was going on. And when they did the operation to remove his tongue ring, it evidently scratched one of his internal organs, and he was bleeding, and he lost a lot of blood, and he was almost, that was another situation where it was life or death. It basically came down to it was another whole crucial information, thing that went on. And just something that I wanted to mention, when we were in that waiting room, some of the things that the people that we seen that came in and out of there were, like, there was gunshot victims, and there was a kid that got dragged. Remember that kid that got dragged?
Out of the fire.
Yeah, there was somebody jumped out of a window of a fire. I mean, it was dramatic. That was a very hard situation, and we had some issues. I ended up losing my job because, Tina was so distraught. I mean, it was just horrible. She was such a mess. I couldn't leave her side. I couldn't leave her side. And ended up that my job was just not working out with the situation. They wanted me to be there, and I couldn't.
They said it was only your stepson, so
they
wouldn't give you time off. But if it was your real son, it would have been different.
Well, they didn't understand the circumstances.
He was in Presby for 3 weeks. And they said, well, Billy's not responding, he's not waking up, so now we have to look for a nursing home.
They said they're short-term care. Well, they wanted to put him in life care first, remember?
No, they didn't pick life care first. They said you have to
No, it was life care where he started to move.
I know, but we didn't get to that place yet.
Well, they said that's an intermediate.
Right, we had to put him in something.
We had to put him in something, and what they wanted us to look for was an intermediate place, is what they called it, where
in between.
They would it wasn't quite like a hospital, because he was physically okay at that point. They said his body was physically okay, but there was no response from his brain. Right. So we ended up going to a place, Life Care was the name of it. It was a very good place. They had some ups and downs in there, but they did a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, it's for old people that wait to die.
Yeah. No, that's an old folks home. This was an intermediate.
Yeah, but most of the people were old people.
There was a lot of older people.
Billy was, 18?
Yeah.
They're like, wow, we're going to fight for this kid. He's going to make it.
Yeah.
Everybody was, shocked that he was coming there.
It was.
Because he was 18 years old.
And he would have, he kicked his legs and stuff, so it was it was hard to watch him. He would go through these cold sweats, and we were just looking for a sign. Any kind of sign that he was responsive. Like, what they wanted to know if he would respond when talked to. He had to actually do something, and he wouldn't do it. It just wasn't happening. And they told us at one point, you got to start looking at old folks' homes, basically, retirement homes with air, because he was on a breathing machine, and he was on a tube, the feeding tube. And we had to go find a place. So me and his sister went out, and we looked, places. And I think that was one of the hardest times for me, because
You and Kayla went.
Yeah, it was hard.
My dad went.
It was hard to see, where his
I
potentially
stayed.
might be going to, and
Yeah.
it was very difficult because I just felt like that was the end, and that's what they were saying. They were like, I've even heard somebody say to us, well, this is basically what he would go there until he
Just
became
laying
ill
dead. Right.
and died. That's basically what they were saying, and
But
and
I said no,
you
we
did,
ain't putting them.
you
I
did.
fought
And that
for 'em.
lady, remember the lady come in and said she wasn't putting them
Yeah,
up.
the one nurse that was really good.
Yeah, but he had that one lady, the physical therapist lady.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget that. When he first got there, a couple of days, the physical therapy lady came up to me, and I said, well, what are you going to do for my son? You have to get him up, put him in a chair, do stuff with him, because they said they stretch his legs, his arms, do everything. She said, honey, your son's going to be a vegetable. And I lost it. I got so mad. I flipped out. I said, don't you ever say that about my son. He's not going to be a vegetable. I said, you get him out of the bed, you sit him in a chair, because we went to support groups that said no matter what, if he's in a coma, you still want to get him up, move his leg, his arms, you want to get him going.
Right.
And I was so upset. I went in the bathroom. I was crying. My mom came in and said, calm down, Tina. It'll be okay. And then the lady did apologize, and she said, we will do whatever it takes for your son. So Billy was sleeping, and they got him up. They put him in a chair. They worked with his leg, his arms. They would take him into physical therapy.
I remember they strapped him in that big
chair,
stand, and that's actually where the breakthrough came in that big thing.
Yeah, they would put him in a big
They
chair.
called us in that big thing, and he was like strapped to this thing, and his hands were down, and it was like
still sleeping.
Yeah, but they were like, oh my God, something really great's happened, And we went in the room, and we were like, what's going on? And they said, Billy, lift your finger, lift your finger, and that was all it took to go from totally not having any hope to having a lot of hope.
Yeah, whereas one nurse said that Billy was coming out because he kept kicking his feet. Remember, he kept kicking and kicking. She said, that's a sign that your son's coming out of a coma.
And he actually moved that finger on response. I remember just watching that finger go up and down and thinking, he did it. This is the miracle that we were waiting for.
It was Easter
just
week.
anything.
It was Easter week.
Anything that he would do.
He started waking up.
Yeah. And
they said, now what we need to look for a place to go give him rehab.
Physical therapy and rehab, right?
See what they can do.
And try to get him back. And I mean, even then, he wasn't doing anything really. I mean, it wasn't like he could do.
In bed,
anything. And he had to relearn everything in his life.
Well, we picked Children's Institute,
which was a great place to go.
Yeah, that's
very good place, right? And they did a very good job of rebuilding him from ground up. I mean, basically, he had to learn how to swallow, how to chew, how to eat and
drink,
talk and everything.
They put him in a bed with like a crib.
The net thing.
Zipped it up, and I hated leaving him.
He hated
I couldn't
being
leave
in
him
that.
every night.
I can remember when he started to come around and was talking and stuff, and he was like, "Don't leave me in this thing." It was horrible leaving him.
I cried every night zipping him up.
It was
I
terrible.
didn't care if he was just laying there, but we had to zip him up like a little baby in a crib. It was terrible.
It was like having a
I
baby
cried.
again. It was a very.
I said, Mike, don't leave him. I would have his dad stay with him. His my pups, anybody I wanted
Yeah,
to
we would
stay
stay,
with.
and I can remember her trying to sneak out at like midnight when he was getting a little better, and they had this light that would come on, and he would see me, he'd catch me going out, and he would say, "You leaving me?" And I'd have to go back and sit with him again until it was like being with a little kid or baby. It was hard. And we went through a lot of trauma ourselves
In our family.
In our immediate family. But I'll tell you something, we did get a lot of support from the community.
Yeah, people were wonderful.
I mean, people
I
were
didn't even
cooking
know
for us,
sending
and
us cars,
people
money.
were raising our children.
Oh my
We
God.
weren't
Your
raising our
family
kids.
was, yeah.
Our family was here, and people would come over. We met some good friends from the church that ended up taking Alyssa, our daughter, to
preschool.
we basically deserted our family during that time. We had to.
Your family, your side took care of our kids.
The kids.
And then my side was with me through everything.
Yeah, they were
Came
down
to the
there.
hospital,
But
stayed
people,
with
even
me.
random people, would bring meals and.
Brought food.
People were very supportive, and they raised money for things, and it was very helpful, and it helped get us through it. But in the end, our family, I think, to this day, still suffers from this incident. I believe every day it affects our lives. To
Especially
this day.
Alyssa, she has separation anxiety.
Yeah, our youngest
little
has
10-year-old.
separation anxiety. She doesn't want to be alone, which is because I think because we left them,
Yeah, I left her too. I never came in. She probably thought she was a little girl. Where's my mom?
Right.
I was around for the first 2 years, couple years.
Of her life, and then boom, we weren't there. I mean,
I was gone for months.
It's still affecting us, and not only that, it affects us with Billy every day of our lives right now, because Billy, he's a good kid, and he's trying to do something good with his life, and it's hard. It's hard to watch him. It's hard to it's hard for me to watch him, and I want him to succeed. You know, I want him to do something good with his life, and he wants to do something good with his life, but it's hard, and we still have problems from it. I mean, me and you, we argue about things. Is he okay with this? Should we do that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't really know what the answers are. I don't. I know that. I want him to do the best he can. You know, I just.
He has a bad brain injury.
It is.
I mean,
it's
he
hard.
did good for a while.
He's physically okay, and that's another thing that makes it difficult,
Yeah,
because
okay.
people see him and they think he's fine. You know, they don't understand that he's not always fine. He has some things that still linger from that accident, and you know, it's hard. It makes it difficult for us as parents, I think, to try to
watch him go through that.
to go
Yeah,
through.
because his frontal lobe, his back lobe, he doesn't have no filters, so he just says whatever he feels like it.
Yeah.
So that's why when everybody hears him swearing, it's just because he
Yeah, it's
has
hard.
no filters.
It's hard.
He just says what's on his mind.
He does.
He has a traumatic brain injury.
But
and
it's a
something hard
miracle
to
that
live
he's
with.
here.
It is a
I
miracle.
mean, we could have been without him right now. And I remember walking out of that hospital down there and looking up at the sky and thinking, you know, and I can remember you were so just didn't think that it was going to be okay. And it's something in my heart told me that it would be okay. But I can just remember looking up and thinking, why is this happening to us? What, you know, did we do something wrong to cause this to happen? Why did this happen? You know, I don't know. It was horrible though, and it was hard for our family, even the older
Still
kids.
is hard. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a struggle for us now because of a lot of the time because of this still, and it's a struggle to watch Billy going through it. But we love him, and we hope that this is something maybe he can do to help other people. You don't want to go through this. Nobody wants to go through this.
It was his accident in 06, and then he came home.
He was in a wheelchair
Yeah.
when he came home, and I mean, we spent so much time with physical therapy down there and just trying
From
to.
the Health South Rehab.
Yeah,
He had outpatient.
Yeah, and he's had different
Rehab.
jobs, and we tried some different ventures and things, but
Nothing's worked out.
it's hard. It's hard to do, and I mean, you know, we're trying to support a family still. We still have, you know, our young daughter here, and we still have to, you know, we have to maintain our family's life still at the same time.
Well, the way where Billy is like every couple months he's happy with something, and then he thinks he can get something better.
Well,
He thinks there's something better out there.
he has some emotional up and down roller coaster type things. You know,
Right.
it's hard, and that's got to be a difficult thing. And us as parents, we're his parents, and we love him with all our heart. And it's still hard. Sometimes you forget that he has a brain injury, and you're like, you know, you pull your hair out. What do? You don't know if it's because he's having a brain injury or it's because he's doing this or that. You just don't know. It's like anybody else who's in his life. They don't. It's hard to read.
Well, it's hard for me as his mother to watch my child act the way that he acts. It's hard. It like kills me inside.
Yeah. I mean, but overall, he could be doing a lot worse. He's a good kid. He's trying lots of different things. We're
hard.
gonna stick with it no matter what it takes, because we're in 7 years now deep since this
Right.
happened. I mean, we all changed. You know, I changed my career.
Yeah.
Things just totally went haywire during that time. And
Well, now he's a daddy.
yeah, he has
He
a
met a
beautiful
girl for a while,
granddaughter.
yeah.
And
We have a beautiful.
we have a
daughter.
beautiful granddaughter. He has a beautiful daughter, and she's
So I think that helps him too.
yeah,
She keeps him going.
she does.
She keeps him on his.
She's a
toes.
little sweetheart.
Keeps
I'm
him
sure
on
you'll
his
see
feet.
pictures of her probably behind us right now. But
That's well. I guess that's what we came to the conclusion that the reason Billy was left here it was for Peyton so far.
yeah, and you know,
Peyton.
hopefully something good will come, and maybe even if he saves one life with this, you know, I'll feel like he did something wonderful with it. You know, one life is that important. So, and anybody wouldn't have to go through what we've been through. I mean, it's been
It's one of the worst
rough.
things any parent can go through.
I think
But then-
it's the worst thing I've ever dealt with in my life. I'll tell you
I
that.
shouldn't say anything because parents that lose their children.
Well, yeah.
That's the worst thing.
Yeah, but sometimes it's with a person who, you know, either way, it's tough. It's got to be a hard road to bear.
Right.
It's two different situations, but no matter what the end result is, you don't want to go through this. Nobody wants to put their family through this. Your loved ones, it changes everybody's life forever, and it's irreversible. You can't go back and redo it. You can't change that night. We can't change that night no matter how hard we wish it would have never happened. We can't change it. It is what it is. But you can change it. You can not do that. You can stay out of that car, or not go with that person who's drinking, or designated driver, or whatever you have to do. But don't put your family through this. Don't put yourself through this. And do you have anything else that you want to say?
No, I'm good.
Well, we love you, Bill. Keep fighting.
So when I woke up from my coma, I was basically like in a crib. I remember waking up to my pop-up, which is my grandfather. I call him pop-up. But I woke up to my pop-up in the crib that I said I was in, and he was sitting into a chair on the right of me. And I just kind of looked over at him like, hey. And I mean, I say the middle of May, even though it was Easter week when I woke up, because I don't remember nothing until May. I mean, when people would come in and see me, they would start crying, and I would get so upset and angry because I had no idea why they were crying when there's nothing wrong with me. And after I like kind of expressed my feelings, they would cry even more because I was totally clueless what just happened the past 3 months. Well, people weren't looking at me during that first week. I thought it was a dream. I would slap myself in the face all the time and tell myself to wake up. And I don't want no one to think I was crazy, so I always did it when people weren't paying attention. So after this first week passed, and I kind of realized that it's harsh reality, and this is my life now. First thing I asked for was a cross. Cross I always wore around my chain. And I didn't have it on when I woke up, so I asked for it. And my mom told me, here, it's around my neck. It's been around my neck the whole time since you were in a coma, and I haven't took it off. So I greatly appreciate that. And I love that because that was my cross. I always had it on. I'm sure you'll see in the picture. I'm sure you'll see on the picture behind me right now my cross. But that was something I had to get back. And then also, I had to get my phone back. I love my phone. I love being in contact with friends and everything. I happened to call my one best friend, Ange. I love that girl. We were like the best of friends. And I called her and she started crying because she didn't think I was going to remember who she was or anything. So, I talked to her. I said some words to her after that. But I told her to come down and see me. So the next day, what do you know? She came and saw me. So right then and there, I knew I had to get out of the hospital. I knew I had to get back to my old life. I couldn't be here no more. I missed my friends, my old life, everything. I fought so hard to get out. And the doctors were telling my parents I probably wouldn't get out until like August or July. Well, I fought so hard to get out. I got out June 2nd, 8 days before I turned 19. So excited to be home from the hospital, and after a week of relaxing, I started rehab at behavioral self-help rehab in Harville is where I started a new rehab, and I was there for a year. And only did I know that this was when all the real fun was going to happen. I mean, I had to relearn everything I do in today's world. I had to relearn all the basics over again. And that's no fun for someone to have to relearn something they've waited, or they had to learn their whole life, at least 18 years of their life, to master or be good at or whatever. But I had to go back there, and after I was there for the first week, I got out of my wheelchair. So that was one thing I could cross right off my list right away. I could walk again on my own. Wasn't the best at it, but I could do it. I could walk again. So, I mean, all my therapists there, they were very good. They were really good at what they did, and I love every single person there that I had, and I thank them to this day for everything they helped me start to get back and relearn again. I mean, I had to relearn my muscles. I had to get all my muscles back. I had to relearn balance, and I had to relearn how to talk alright. Like, I sound okay today, but I had to relearn how to talk, swallow. I had to relearn how to do all that, as my stepdad told you in his part. But, it was very frustrating and a tough task to handle. And after a year of being there, they told me I hit a plateau, so I quit rehab. And for the next 3 years of my life, I would try to my own businesses. And my one business was a dream, which it could work, but it ended up not working. What it was that I owned a record label, and we were called Camera Records. And the guys I had on my label, they were really good. I mean, they were really good, but no one would bite on it. And the other business I did was called Parker and Son, which was a wall business, me and my stepdad in. And I mean, we build the most beautiful walls you'll ever see. I mean, we still do it to this day. We still do it on the side when he's off at Turner's. We still build walls, and they're so beautiful. I mean, he does amazing work with walls. He's really good with this, and it's incredible to watch him build a wall. Cause I mean, he's a hustler. He works. He works his butt off. I mean, those blocks, they weigh 80 pounds a piece, and the caps weigh another 45 a piece. I mean, that's hard work for me. I get tired easy after doing that. I mean, he just goes. He doesn't stop. That's really hard to do. But I mean, I tried 2 businesses and they didn't work out. But after 3 years of trying businesses on my own, my parents found this new rehab called Remed, and they specialized in brain trauma. And I thought, oh well, they might be able to help me out some more. Maybe I'm past my plateau, because in those 3 years I was relearning a lot, and I had to reteach myself and everything, and I was getting pretty far, but I still needed more help. So I started going to Remed, and I went to Remed, and they're a really great place. Don't get me wrong, I liked Remed, but I would get so frustrated there, because I mean, it's been 3 years since I went to rehab, and they would make me go back and relearn everything you would learn like at a young age. I had to relearn, and I would just get so mad at them because I thought it was so dumb, and I felt that they were holding me back, but they knew that I needed to get my basics down better to be able to be, I don't know how to say it, let's just say, to be better than I was now. But I would get so frustrated. And I went there for a couple months, and when I was getting there, I ended up meeting the mother of my child there, and I stopped going to rehab. So after 7 years of getting through what I've gone through, I've decided to make a difference in the world. Well, at least try to make a difference in the world. I mean, if I could save someone's life, or 2 or 3, or well, at least try to save someone's life, I'd be so happy and feel so complete and feel that I've accomplished something with myself. I mean, I just don't want to see anyone go through what I'm going through right now, or put their family through what I've put my family through, because it's not pretty. I mean, I really hope you guys think twice before you get into the car after you've drank, or get into the car with someone who's been drinking. Don't walk in my shoes.